You're at home relaxing, just watching some TV with your family. Suddenly you get a ring alert on your phone. Somebody is walking up towards your front door. Well, you pull up the video, and here's some guy that you don't know holding a firearm in his hand. Well, he's going to walk over to one of your front windows, and he's going to tap on it. He ends up running off. But what if he doesn't run off? What are you going to do? Hey guys, retired Lieutenant Todd Heaton with Humilitas First. This happened in early May of 2025, somewhere in the 200 block of Arrow Street in Pekin, Illinois. This is a Pekin Police Department Facebook post. Pekin's investigation division started looking into it. That investigation yielded that this was believed to be a BB gun. This guy goes to this residence as a joke, thinking it would be funny. Which then takes me to the first comment: how do we know it's a BB gun and a joke if you guys haven't caught him yet? Well, you don't. And regardless of what the investigation yielded, the police officer with boots on the ground, if this guy pulls that gun, he's going to get shot, because officers are not going to simply trust the intel. They're going to treat this as if the firearm was real and not a BB gun, which is precisely what I would do if I was this homeowner, treating it as if it was a real gun. I can't tell by looking at that. Can you? To a degree, Pekin Police acknowledge this reality in reminding their citizens that it should not be viewed as a joke but a crime that carries significant risks of severe injury or worse. The worse means death. This guy was caught and arrested in a nearby jurisdiction. His case was referred to the Tazewell County State's Attorney's Office for prosecution. At first I was confused as to how a threat of great bodily harm or death could possibly be funny or considered a prank, so I did a little research.
Imagine you're at home and it's around 1 in the morning. You hear a loud crash sound coming from your front door, only to find it kicked in and vandalized. That's what's been happening in several neighborhoods around Greensboro. Take a look at this video. It shows two people, one wearing a mask, kick open the front door of the home and take off sprinting. The Greensboro Police Department says it's investigating what many are calling a TikTok trend.
We could call it ding dong ditch home invasion style.
This is called the door kick challenge. It began last year but started to ramp up a few months ago right here in San Antonio.
When an unavoidable fight comes to you, the first order of effects involves the physical battlefield. How do I win this fight, right? Say yes. Secondary order of effects involve whether you've done the work to understand the fundamental principles involved in the legal battlefield. Well, have you? Have you read Andrew Branca's book and listened to his older real-world examples of violent encounters on his YouTube channel to begin learning those fundamental principles? You got to do the work. I can't do it for you. Admittedly, I don't know all of the facts involved in this case, but let's take a listen to one example of the secondary order of effects that happened in Virginia just last month.
Tyler Chase Butler faced a judge this morning. The 27-year-old is ordered to stay in jail without bond after he was accused of shooting and killing 18-year-old Massaponack High senior Michael Bosworth.
Give a male with a gunshot wound to the chest.
The sheriff's office says Butler fired shots at Bosworth and two other teenagers because he thought they were breaking into his house along Mackenzie Lane in Fredericksburg. It happened around 3 a.m. Saturday. Court documents reveal a much different story. They say the two other teens who survived claimed they were playing the Ding Dong Ditch Challenge. It's a TikTok prank where kids try to kick a stranger's front door and run away. The juvenile said as they were running from a residence, he and his friends were shot at.
You have a young adult male crew playing a whole new level of Ding Dong Ditch, which would reasonably lead any homeowner to believe he's about to have an intruder violently breach his home. That is not good. And in this case, the homeowner, seen here, he's arrested and he's probably going to prison. Why? The last thing that you want to do is go outside and chase them down shooting at them. That is going to result in a prosecution of the person who initially was just the innocent victim. Don't do that. You have to know where these legal lines are. Okay, let me walk you through some of my thoughts on this. The first thing that comes to my mind is, can I legally shoot through the door or the wall, and then should I? So it's a can I, should I question. For that, I'll put a link in the description to a great talk by attorney Andrew Branca. This is his lane. This is what he's a craftsman in. Now, I don't personally know him. I'm not an affiliate. I have no stock in his company, but I put a lot of stock in his understanding, his craftsmanship, and its legal breakdowns. Okay, let's talk about some fundamentals of home defense for this particular situation. I'm so tempted to say that I'm never opening this front door, because to face off with this guy at this distance, it's to take a competitive type mindset juxtaposed to a winning type mindset. It's to forfeit stacking the odds and give him what he wants, which is close proximity and potential access. It's to play his game. I don't want to play his game. I want to play my game. I'm going to try to avoid this by calling 911. But if I can't avoid it, I want to take him out to the deep where he's not comfortable, where he can't get his footing. He can't touch the ground anymore. Like a crocodile. Overall, we know it's not a good idea to use absolutes like always and never, because your mission can change. I'll give you an example of how that can happen in just a minute. But for now, let's just treat it as if I'm not going to need to open this front door. And if he forcibly breaches, realize he's breaching through a fatal funnel. That's to my advantage. I can strong point. What does that mean? Well, for one, I can get into a 90-degree hard corner that he has to come inside a certain depth to be able to see. I can use things like bookshelves. Books are made of paper, which comes from trees. Thick trees are good cover. So you stack enough books, you're going to have some degree of cover. Maybe I'm not even in the first room. Maybe I'm 2 rooms deep. If you look at this example here, this is an example of being 2 rooms deep. But this wall, it's not going to stop bullets, right? Well, that depends. Have I done anything to harden this wall? Like what? Oh, ballistic panels, that would be one. Contractors can install those. Most people, myself included, don't have the extra money to build a safe room. That's okay. Maybe all I need is a safe wall. It's kind of like putting a tree in the middle of my house. And here's the thing. The unjust criminal aggressor, he doesn't get to know where the tree is because it's inside the wall. You can purchase ballistic panels that have varying degrees of ballistic protection, from anything from pistols up to rifles. Now in this photo, it's daytime, but you could put a nightlight over by your front door. So if somebody breaches that front door, you can still see them. It's going to be very difficult to see you because you made yourself small in a dark room, 2 rooms deep. They're looking to clear the first room. What are some other fundamentals? Well, I want my wife essentially to get herself and the children out of the way. If I have a basement, that's preferable. If I don't have a basement, then I want her to be off to the side, out of direct line of fire with that front door, that front living room. You got to figure this out for your particular home. I just want her and the kids out of the way, out of the backdrop as much as is possible. I want my wife, or say a capable young adult child, armed, just in case one or more of the bad guys gets past me. To get past me, I should be unconscious, paralyzed, dying, or dead. I want my wife to call 911, and I want her to stay on the line with the goal of repeatedly and continuously inquiring, when are the officers going to arrive on scene? Are the officers on scene? What's their ETA? Why? Why do I care about that? Because I want her to yell out to me that the officers are on scene. Why? I want to get out of the way. That means if I have a basement, I'm going to find a new strong point in the basement or as far off to the side as I can get. I want cover, that big old foxhole that we call a basement, so that if the police should get into a shootout with the bad guy, well, I don't want to be collateral damage. I want to get out of the way. Time is the most precious commodity that you're going to have in a violent confrontation. If you watch this channel, you know that. In this case, in the case of home defense, if you fortify your external doors, that's going to buy you time. So all of this is going to depend upon whether you've done the work that is going to delay a forced breach. So that might include something like installing a larger strike plate or deadbolt catch, swapping out the 3/4 inch screws that often get installed for 3-inch long screws that only cost about $1 into that deadbolt catch. Those are just a couple. This is just one coach's opinions. I'm just sharing some of my thoughts regarding emergency planning for something like a home invasion. But if you don't fortify those exterior doors, then you probably need to be concealed carry at all times in your house. Because if somebody comes up and kicks the door, it's only going to take 1, 2, maybe 3 kicks, and they're going to be inside, which means you have a time problem because you don't have any time to implement your plan. You got to buy yourself some time. If you do fortify the exterior doors, then we're talking, maybe 2 dozen kicks before they breach. Maybe they don't breach at all. It just depends who's doing the kicking and how well you fortified that door. Okay, back to the always and never question. If you haven't heard of Mr. Murphy, which is Murphy's Law, it's if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's Murphy's Law. So say my young adult daughter just happens to arrive home at the exact moment that we have this surprise visitor with the gun in his hand. Well, I'm going to look at that kind of problem like a hostage rescue problem, meaning it's not about me and my safety. Rather, it's about her and her safety. And guess what? Time's up. So in this unbelievably rare but terrible circumstance, I'm going right out that front door and deal with my unjust, violent problem so that my daughter doesn't become his first victim. Now, let's say, for instance, that I know that my daughter is due home any minute. Our family, we share locations on our phones, so I can check or I can have another family member check and see just how much time do I have. If I have time, then maybe I use something like this to pile on the stress. In another video, I talked about what's on your nightstand, and I keep my key fobs on my nightstand. Why? So that if I need to, I can cause the bad guy a problem. I want to create problems for the bad guy. So by activating both of my car's panic buttons, that's going to draw the attention of surrounding neighbors. Bad guys don't like attention, especially bright lights and loud car horns, drawing all of the attention to where they're standing on the porch considering or trying to forcibly breach. This is a little artificial chaos. It's a distraction. It may move them to quickly leave the area. Less likely, but it could also work in the opposite way, where maybe they just double down and try that much harder to get inside to do whatever they came there to do. Lastly, say it's just this ding-dong-ditch home invasion game that they've invented, where they forcibly kick the door in and then they run off. Do I want to go outside and make sure that they left? No. Why? Remember, I had my wife call 911 to get the police rolling towards my house to avoid having to handle it myself, if possible. So because she called the police, they could get here in 2 minutes if somebody's close, or they could get here in 8 minutes or 20 minutes. Just depends where they're at. The last thing that I want is to go outside armed and then have a potential problem with the police who confuse me for the bad guy. No, I'm going to stay inside where I have the odds stacked against the bad guy. If he decides he's going to come back and move through that fatal funnel, and let it play out. Let the situation develop. My wife's going to stay on the phone, and she's going to continually ask dispatch, are the police close? So that when they get on scene, she can tell me, so I can holster my weapon or put it away. Wait for the police to make contact and then tell them what happened.